If you want financial freedom, time freedom, and want to leave a legacy for generations to come, you probably have heard real estate investing is the place to do that. How do you get started? What do you have to do? When's the right time? If you are looking for those answers, you've come to the right place. My name is Kyle Stanley, and this is Fearless Flipping. My mission is to help you learn this business and conquer real estate investing. All right, boys and girls, it is time to listen into Jason Pritchard once again. If you missed the first episode, make sure that you go back. And first of all, why did you miss the first episode? You've got to go back and check the first episode. You got to learn about the person before you can even start hearing about this next strategy, which is going to be consistency today. So the best way to make sure that you don't miss out on those episodes is to subscribe. So whether you are listening on a podcast or watching on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed to one or both of those. I prefer both. And make sure as well that you are taking notes on this next segment with Jason. And if you are in a position where you cannot take notes, well, guess what? I've done you a favor. You just go to fearlessflipping.com/Jason Pritchard, and you will get all the show notes right there for you. Now let's get to the action and talk about consistency. We are back at it with Jason Pritchard here in Fresno, California, and we are also excited because we're going to talk about something that might sound at the beginning here kind of, oh yeah, I know I need to be consistent, Jason, but at the end of the day, like, guys, that's all we really need to do in this business.
That's right.
And as boring as it may sound, it's just like fundamentals in sports.
You've
got to nail down the fundamentals to be good at the big stuff. And so, first of all, before we get deep into this, I definitely would like you guys to go check out the first episode. It was amazing. Jason shared his story and a lot more value that you guys can really get out of that first episode. But now, here, let's talk about consistency. What has it meant for your business?
So what I have found, Kyle, is that consistency is the one thing that has created predictability in my business, right? And at the beginning, when you first get in, and I think this is a trap that everybody falls into, is that there's really big peaks and valleys in between the deals that they're doing and the income that they're generating and all this stuff. And all of that I've found, and what I've learned is it's tied back to doing the fundamental things consistently over an extended period of time. And once I was able to figure out how to just do that and focus my time on doing those things, my business became much more predictable, and then it also started to grow a lot more.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those fundamental activities that are going to create that momentum.
Absolutely. So I think one of the biggest mistakes I see at the beginning for newer investors is they jump all over the place. And I think real estate investing, there's so many different shining objects and so many different ways that you can get started. There's flipping, there's wholesaling, there's buy and hold, there's note investing. There's all these different types of things that you can do. And it's easy to jump from one to the other, right? And I think when you're talking about, let's just say flipping, wholesaling, and buying and holding, I think it all starts out with finding a good deal, right? And if you can't get a deal that pencils, it makes it hard for all of the other things that need to kind of fall in place to work, right? And so to tie that back to consistency, there's things that you need to do on the front end when you're doing your sales, your marketing, and your lead generation to keep a consistent flow of leads kind of coming through your sales funnel. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see with new investors is that they pick one marketing channel and they do it for a little bit and then they don't get results within a month or two or three. And then they switch to something else. And then they do that for a little while, and then they switch to something else. And then, they come talk to me 9 months later, and they're like, this isn't working for me. And, when we really peel back what they're doing, that's usually the biggest problem. And I think that's one of the biggest kind of detractors or reasons why people can't get over the hump of doing their first deal in this business.
So patience.
Patience.
Yep. I will say what you just said there hits to the core of me because I've been putting off doing direct mail.
Sure.
Because it's scary thinking about spending that kind of money. I haven't met anyone yet that hasn't had success with it, but it's like, shoot, I got to dish out, if I'm going to be successful with this, I can't just do $150 a month. I got to do $1,500, $2,500 a month.
Yep.
But when it comes down to it, I know that's eventually going to get me that deal. It's a little scary to think about that. So how can, if it's just me, how can you give me some confidence to know that that's going to be what I need to do?
So here's what I would say to do to try to make that pill a little bit easier to swallow is anything, especially at the start, you got to give yourself 12 months, I think, if you're going to give yourself a fair shot at anything, right? So if you're going to have any type of spend on marketing, whether it's mail or a bandit sign, or you're buying some software program to help with making cold calls or something like that, you got to commit to not just what's the monthly cost, but what's it going to cost me to do this for 12 months, right? And then if you can't afford that, or it's going to be too scary and you're going to see yourself backing out after month 3, then maybe you either need to save up some money to get to that point, or switch to something that doesn't cost as much money, right? And the cool thing about real estate is that there's different things that you can do that, I'm not going to say don't cost any money, but there's activities that you can do like driving for dollars and cold calling or door knocking where, there's a lot of time. And there's money maybe like in the gas that you're spending in your car, but it's not this $2,000 check that you have to write every month for direct mail. So start with your budget it out over 12 months, and then pick a number that you can feel good with, and then stick with that marketing channel for 12 months.
Budgeting either money or time.
Money or time, right? And then once you get a deal from that, you have to peel some of that money off, set it aside, and then reinvest back into that business, and maybe expand into a second marketing channel that you can do for another 12 months, right? And then you do that again, and then maybe you find a channel that works really well, like direct mail, and you say, hey, I want to expand to another list. This list has been working well. I'm going to invest in another list, and that's kind of how my business grew. So I did it it was bandit signs originally, and that was really the only thing that I did consistently at the start. And once I started generating deals from that, I started reinvesting in direct mail. And then once mail started to get some traction, then I started investing in more lists. And then I just started doing other things after that, PPC and other different types of marketing to try to get the leads coming in.
Okay. Aside from marketing, where does consistency work in real estate?
I would say that you can apply it towards any part of your business, right? So I've remodeled. I don't even know. We've bought and fixed 75 to 80 properties over the last 4 years. And so when you can apply consistency towards the project management side of it as well, right? So when you're dealing with contractors, if you have a consistent set of expectations and guidelines that you give them every single time, it makes their job easier because they know what you're looking for when you come in to inspect a project that's done. It also makes your job easier too, because you don't have to be out there every single day babysitting them, right? Because I used to like that. I used to like driving out to the projects, and I thought I was helping, and I was really just kind of getting in the way, you know what I mean? And my time is better suited generating more deals and finding money to take those deals down. That's where that's where my time is best suited, right? I don't need to be going to Home Depot or going there babysitting the contractors and doing that stuff, right? And so I found that if we give them a consistent set of expectations, there's a consistent set of materials that we pick from, right? There's a consistent punch list that we check at the end of every single project so they know what we're looking for. Everybody's jobs are easier, right? I only have to go out there at the beginning and at the end, or my project manager only goes out there at the beginning and at the end, right? And that's allowed us to go from doing 1 at a time to 3 at a time to 10 at a time, right? Okay. So I think it helps with that as well.
Awesome. So contractors, I just keep hearing that.
Sure.
Absolutely, keeping it cookie cutter. There's no question about it. I like that. Spending time finding the deals. So really, where you need to find consistency is where you're spending your time, and then also trying to eliminate where you're spending your time if it's not making you money and not getting you to that next step.
As I've gotten busier, so that's something that I've struggled with, I'd say the last 12 to 18 months is I was a one-man show up until year 3, and then I hired my first full-time employee, and then we brought an in-house bookkeeper on in the last 12 months, and now we've got 3 agents that are working as part of the team. We've got an assistant that's an intern that comes in 3 days a week, and so now my time is spread across a lot of different places. And I've had to learn how to say, listen, I'm only going to do these things, and I have to stay consistent. As the owner of the business, my time is best suited doing these 2 or 3 activities every single day, and everything else I have to delegate. And so me being type A, I like to be involved in every single little thing. And if I don't have a consistent schedule where I'm doing some of the more important like revenue generating activities, then I notice my business start to wane. And so, when you get to maybe where I'm at, consistent revenue is very important, right? Because now I've got payroll that I have to make every single month. I have mortgages that I have to pay to my investors every single month, right? And so if I don't have a consistent flow of payroll, then I start running low on cash reserves. That's a problem for me. Cash management is a big deal, especially when you're doing 12 projects at one time, right? And so consistency can be applied across the board.
Hey, Fearless Flipping community, let's hear from one of our sponsors right now. Have you thought about becoming a real estate investor, but you have no money, or maybe you just don't feel like you have the right guidance, the right system, or maybe the right plan? Well, the Phenom Investor Blueprint course is your answer. Developed by seven-figure earner Matt Garabedian and a good friend of mine. Matt uses his 10 plus years of real estate investing knowledge to teach you how to get involved with real estate investing without spending a dime. Matt's wholesaling techniques will work for any market at any time. So if you want to make 6 figures, 7 figures, or more, yeah, that's right, it's possible. It's time to invest in yourself. Check out the Phenom Investor Blueprint at fearlessflipping.com/phenom. Again, that's fearlessflipping.com/phenom. This is your first step to financial freedom. fearlessflipping.com/phenom. So there's a lot of people right now listening. They're thinking it's easy for you to say that, Jason, because you've been doing this for 4 years. And man, when you've got deals coming in, of course you're going to be consistent because it's paying you. But I'm over here, I've been doing this for 5 months and I haven't gotten one deal yet.
Sure.
You've got a story that you were sharing with me about consistency and getting past that.
Sure.
Just getting that first deal. Can you just share that with me?
So I think it's a cool story because it was the very first off-market property that I ever put under contract. And at the beginning, like I said, I was bouncing around trying all kinds of different things to generate leads. The only thing that I ever did consistently was bandit signs. So I would get up every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning and I'd put up a minimum of 25 bandit signs around the different areas and towns that I was targeting, right? And I did that for probably 6 months and I maybe got like 3 phone calls in 6 months, right? And so I said to myself, I don't know what it was about the bandit signs, but I just said to myself, I'm just going to keep doing this until I get a deal because I know that other people are doing it and they're getting deals, so it works. So I'm just going to do this until it works, right? So finally, 6 months later, this older guy calls me up and he says, hey, I saw your sign. I've got this house. The tenant's giving me a lot of problems. I just want to sell it. We talked briefly over the phone about numbers and it looked like it could potentially work. And I said, hey, you know what? I'm interested. I'd like to meet with you. When can we get together? And he said, you know what? I have breakfast at this Taco Bell every single morning. Why don't you come meet me at Taco Bell tomorrow and we'll sit down and talk about it. So I downloaded some 20-page contract off the internet. I went and met this guy at Taco Bell the next morning. We sat there for like 2 hours. We ended up putting a deal together on this thing. I didn't even know what I was doing and I only brought one copy of the contract, so I had to ask the manager of the Taco Bell to photocopy a copy for the seller to leave with, and then I needed a copy to take to the title company. So I can remember being on even now I can remember being on such a high coming out of that place and just thinking like all of this hard work, everything that I've been doing, it works. You know what I mean? Like I know that I hadn't bought the deal at that point, but it felt great to just get over that initial hump that you can actually, even get to the point that I was at, right? And so I was so excited, drove to the title company, dropped it like literally in person, dropped it off, sat down with the escrow officer, we got everything lined up. And then the deal ended up falling apart a couple weeks later. And so, long story short, I only got the husband to sign. I didn't meet with the wife. I took the husband's word, and I should know better because I'm married, but he said, you know what, oh, my wife, she's on board, no worries, it's fine, blah, blah, blah. And then the wife, basically in so many words, she got there and she said, there's no way we're selling the house for this price, right? So she killed the deal. And I was riding really high, and then I basically fell off a cliff. And it was one of the, I don't want to say the worst times, but it was one of those times where I was really second guessing like what I was doing, because I felt like at that point I'd been working for 7 months, hadn't made anything, and it just wasn't working for me, right? And something in me just said, hey, you got to just keep sticking with it. And within 30 days from that day, I ended up getting 3 separate calls, all from bandit signs. I put all 3 of those properties under contract. We closed on all of them, and we ended up fixing them and selling them.
Wow.
Yeah, right after that.
Wow.
So,
and a lot of people would have quit right there.
That's right. That's right.
People. And that, not only is that the learning lesson, I think the backup learning lesson is to always ask, are you the decision maker?
That's right. That's right. Always make sure you have both decision makers there. That's right. Yeah.
Than Merrill has a story that he went out to a property once and was same kind of deal. It was an older guy. Hey, do you want a beer? Hey, do you want a cigarette? Than doesn't smoke or drink, and he was like, I wanted to build rapport with this guy. Had a cigarette with him, had a drink with him, got the thing under contract. The next day, he got a call from the wife saying, "Why'd you buy that?" Just screaming at him. And he was like, I didn't even know the guy was married.
That's crazy,
So
yeah.
now he asks that question too.
Yeah.
So you have talked a lot about consistency. I think the number one thing that comes to my mind, you and I are both kind of this way, when it comes to consistency, that also comes with structure.
That's right.
So do you structure, and this doesn't even necessarily be a real estate related answer, do you structure each one of your days? Do you structure and delegate tasks? Like, talk to me a little bit about that.
So I'm the type of person that thrives in an environment where there's structure, right? So I like to plan out my day the night before, right? So I already know what time I'm going to wake up. I know what I'm going to do in the morning. I know when I'm going to go in, and pretty much my whole day is blocked out with exception of some open slots for my team members if they need to come in and see something. So for me, that eliminates having to think about, okay, what am I going to do when I get up? What am I going to do at this time, right? All of that stuff is planned out, and I front load my day with the things that really move the needle in my business, which is, for me, is still very much on the front end and focusing on deal flow and increasing that deal flow and all the things that we're doing to generate leads and training. Because I've got the back end, I'm not going to say I have it figured out, but I've got employees and systems and things in place to manage the rehabs without me having to go out there. We can manage the sale of the process without me having to be involved, right? Financially, we've got people in place between my bookkeeper and my CPA where I don't need to be like in the books as much as I was at the beginning. But the front end is something that I'm still very, very involved in. And so I'm spending a lot of my time doing that. And it's consistent activity with that is what really moves the needle in this business, because if you don't have deals coming in, the deals are kind of the lifeblood of any real estate investing business. And so
I would say too, for me, just in my seat right now, I've noticed that when I have, being brand new to this, I get that deal, I get it under contract, then it goes through escrow, and now I've got the keys in my hands, and I'm thinking to myself, I got to put all my efforts now into this deal, and now when that deal's done, shoot, I haven't been doing any work to find that next one. So I've been trying to overcome that a little bit through, and a lot of it's just mental blocks.
it is.
It's not even that I don't think I have to go find that next one. It's just that, like, oh man, what if I don't have the money? What if I can't get the contractor? So did you ever deal with that?
It's the story, yeah. So we tell ourselves these stories that are never true, right? And we put these limits on ourselves that are never true. And I think that that's where that structure and that consistency really kind of comes in, right? And so I think what I try to do is, if we're going to be doing, we do a lot of cold calling on my team, right? And so we try to front load the beginning of our day with the calling, because nobody wants to cold call, right? Nobody wants to be on the phone for 2 hours at a time and make 100 or 150 calls, right? And so if I wait to do that at the end of the day, I'm going to find some excuse or some other thing to do to say, oh, I'm too busy, I can't do that, I'll do that tomorrow, right? And I've just learned from my own prior experience that I did the same exact thing. I would get a deal, all my energy and focus would go on to trying to manage that deal, and I wouldn't stop doing the lead generation and the sales and the marketing front end of it. And then you're waiting 3 months to do it. And here's the analogy that I always like to use, right? The lead generation, it's not a faucet that you can just go turn on and the leads just come out, right? It's a well, and it's a well that you have to pump by hand, and the water's got to get drawn from underground, right? And everything's happening underneath the surface. So the consistency comes in because you have to crank that pump every single day at a pace where you're getting the water to come from however far down it is up to the top, to the point where it starts shooting out. And the problem that everybody has is they get really excited and they go crazy and they crank it, and they get it up a little bit, and then they stop and it goes all the way back down, right? And then they they go to a meetup or they go to a seminar or something, and they come back and they get some more motivation, and they go again, and it goes up higher, but then it goes all the way back down. And they don't know that they're so close to seeing that result, right? Think about what would have happened if I had stopped putting those bandit signs up, if that guy had, my results were like right there. But if I had just quit, all of that stuff would have gone back down, and I was right around the corner from doing 3 deals, right? And so you've got to, if you adjust from the very beginning, just go at a pace where you can stick with it over the long run. And as you get better at it, maybe pick up the pace a little bit, but you don't need to go crazy. It's got to be a pace that you can sustain, and that will get you the results. That's what works.
Just 1 foot away from digging and hitting that
It's
gold.
It's that meme or that picture that you see where there's somebody that's digging for gold and they're right there. and then they just give up. And that's what I see, man. And I just wish that people would just, the results are inevitable. There's nothing that we're doing is a secret. And talking to people that I've found that are successful, everybody does the same thing. Everybody's mailing like the same list. Everybody's cold calling. Everybody's doing ringless voicemail. Everybody's text messaging. Everybody's got these different things that work. And the people that you see that have these consistent businesses have just, stuck with it for a longer period of time. So you can't compare yourself to them. You just have to try to be the best person that you can be for where you're at right now.
Okay. Well, you have provided so much value about consistency today. I know some people are going to have some questions. So how can they connect with you?
So the easiest way to connect with me would be on social media. That's where I'm probably most active. So Facebook and Instagram, it's just my first and last name, Jason Pritchard. If somebody has a specific question, just call me. My cell phone number is 559-994-1821. I'm sure you'll put that in the show notes. Shoot me a text if you've got a specific question about anything that you feel like maybe I can help out. I try to be an open book about this stuff because I genuinely feel like all this information is kind of out there for you, and I don't necessarily believe that there's any secret sauce that's involved. It really is just, figuring out what works for you, doing that, and sticking with it.
You are awesome, brother. Anything you want to add to consistency before we check out here?
No, man, I think that's it. I think if you just, like I said, there's no magic bullet. Just take your medicine at the beginning and just keep doing it, put in the work, and the results will inevitably come.
Hey, if you can be consistent, Fearless Flippers, you too can conquer real estate investing. He's just a wealth of knowledge. You can tell that Jason loves adding value. I hope you got a ton of value from that. And I just hope that you will go on to the show notes at fearlessflipping.com/Jason Pritchard. You can connect with him there. You can message him. I would definitely add him on social media. And guys, just like what Jason talked about, there's so many different ways that we can try to reinvent the wheel with this business. No matter what you do, stay consistent with it. It will pay off. And I think the number one thing for me was just figuring out what can you budget for your time or your money to do for 12 straight months in regards to marketing. And when you do finally get those deals under contract, make sure you've got a process that's set into stone that is just going to be consistent from start to finish, whether you're flipping, wholesaling, buying and holding, the whole 9 yards. And I'm sure that as you continue to watch and listen to Fearless Flipping, you will learn those processes that will help you to stay consistent. It's your time to go out and conquer real estate investing. We'll see you next time.